Mr. Foreign Minister, a meeting like this is the first of its kind in many years. So regional and international players and those involved in both politics and security. Just describe the significance of this Aqaba summit, if you will.
Thank you, Beyki. The meeting was the culmination of tremendous effort that His Majesty the King has been putting into bringing the parties together against the backdrop of complete collapse of any meaningful engagement. As such, bringing the parties together under U.S. umbrella, Egyptian presence, Jordanian presence, was an important political step to try and bring some common sense to the table and talk real measures that could de-escalate the situation and right. Save us all the danger of further eruption of violence and loss of hope.
Well, while both sides, Israelis and Palestinians, reportedly expressed readiness to prevent further violence, we saw a string of attacks in the aftermath between Israeli settlers and Palestinians that have prompted the IDF to send extra reinforcements to the West Bank. So, given that backdrop, what is going on the ground as you get these parties around the same table, do you see the summit as a success?
The summit, Becky, was important in starting a serious political discussion. The meeting yesterday witnessed very frank and very harsh negotiations on what needs to be done to prevent further violence. Again, it was the first of its kind in years. It produced an agreement that had both parties committing to work together to de-escalate, to end unilateral measures, and a commitment to previously signed agreement. So as a political product, as a political step, that was very significant. However, it is the situation on the ground that will need to be addressed now, implementing what was agreed on Aqaba and stopping unilateral and provocative measures that are continue to push towards more violence. And as you mentioned, the meeting in Aqaba took place against horrific incidents on the West Bank yesterday that unfolded as we were meeting. And that is another reason why those meetings are important, because unless the parties sit and talk, unless we try to find agreement, we're looking at even a worse situation going forward.
One of the commitments was to stop discussion of any new settlement units for at least 4 months. With respect, a similar commitment was pledged last week after the UN Security Council expressed deep concerns. So there will be those who say, what is really new here?
Absolutely. Obviously, the Israeli government took previously a decision to build more settlements, something, of course, which we condemn as a measure that will only further undermine prospects for peace and undermine the two-state solution. But yesterday was the first time the parties got together. The discussion, the negotiation started. The Israelis committed not to discuss any new settlements and not to authorize any new illegal outposts. That, I don't believe, will reverse the decision that was taken before, which we wish and would continue to work that it does. But ultimately, what we got yesterday is an agreement to work to de-escalate, work to stop unilateral measures. And both parties should have an interest in that, because everybody is going to pay a tremendous price from the violence that we see erupting, particularly as we approach the holy month of Ramadan, which would also coincide with Passover and Easter.
Because
there's simply too much to lose here. There is too much at stake, and if the commitment in Aqaba yesterday is honoured, then we might see some progress towards the escalation.
Can you just underscore for us the risk that we are dealing with if the aim of restoring peace through this summit, of course, is not achieved? How concerned are you? What are the risks?
The risks are too high, and we only have to look at the events of the past year and before to see that we're going down a very dangerous path. The number of Palestinians killed in the last year has not been seen in over 10, 15 years. People are losing hope. Despair is engulfing the whole situation. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of violence erupting. We're seeing settler violence, and we're seeing radicals continuing to incite against peace and continuing to try to drive us towards the abyss. So the danger is real, Becky, and if we're not able to control the situation and stop further violence, we could be looking at a whole eruption of a new cycle of violence that could mean complete collapse and could mean wide-scale confrontations.
Extremely worrying. While I've got you, Foreign Minister, I must press you on your visit to Damascus earlier this month. You met with the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in the wake of what was the devastating earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria. More than 50,000 lives now lost across that region. Is Bashar al-Assad, once a pariah on the global stage, now welcome around this region of the Gulf and wider Middle East?
Well, as you said, the visit took place in the wake of a horrific earthquake that caused tremendous amount of death in both Syria and Turkey, and therefore the visit initially was an expression of solidarity with the Syrian people and also the Turkish people, but also it was an opportunity to discuss the political situation. Our position in Jordan has always been is that we need to work towards a political solution to the crisis. The truth, Becky, is that there's been no effort to solve the crisis in the past few years. It is status quo politics. That is something that we believe is only producing more suffering and more danger to the Syrians and to the region. As such, in Jordan, a couple of years ago, we came up with a white paper that is now a Jordanian initiative that is predicated on having a leading Arab role in a political engagement with the Syrian government with a view to incrementally find a solution that will end the crisis and that will address all its consequences, humanitarian, security and political. We've been in discussion with partners and friends in the region and beyond about this initiative. We're going to move ahead with it because it's a benchmark initiative that seeks an incremental approach on the basis of step for step. And in the coming days, you'll be seeing more Jordanian engagement with friends and partners to operationalize that initiative. The alternative to this is more of the same. More of the same means more suffering for the Syrian people, more dangerous consequences for all of us in the region and beyond.